TMZ Live, Harvey Levin here.
Charles here.
Well, A$AP Rocky was not just found not guilty late yesterday, but it was as boisterous as it gets.
It's as big a courtroom celebration as you can see for someone who is clearly elated. But he nearly choked out Rihanna, hugging her so tightly.
It was amazing. But,
I've never seen someone
He had 24 years on the line there, and it resets his life.
Yes, absolutely. It was quite the celebration, and it continued. Obviously, that's what we saw in court. And then late last night, as you would expect, Rocky and Rihanna were out celebrating. They were in Beverly Hills.
At this new private club. Really beautiful. Yeah, really, really beautiful.
Yeah. They were
celebrating with Joe Tacopina.
And they had their legal team there, of course, thanking them, I'm sure, for getting him acquitted in this case. So what went down, not only in court, but at the after party? Joining us right now is Joe Tacopina, the conquering attorney in this case. Joe, welcome back to TMZ Live.
Thanks, Harvey. Thanks, Charles.
Okay, so two things. One, congratulations, and two, you look like you got no sleep.
Wow, right off the bat, Harvey, just hit him with that. I mean, he's right, though.
Harvey.
I mean, he's right, though.
A month of no sleep, and then last night was a little rough. I don't really think I'm in condition to be a doctor right now, but I'll give it a whirl. No, but it's been a month of no sleep. I mean, look at me. It's tough. Trials like this are crazy because you don't sleep. Even when you're done working at 3 or 4 in the morning, I sleep with one eye open and a pad next to my bed because I'm always thinking of something and my brain doesn't stop. So it's not really, and you go on adrenaline. You literally go on adrenaline during the day. I did a 5.5-hour summation on no sleep, but it's adrenaline. And then after the trial, it all goes crashing down. But it was worth it. I mean, it was such a beautiful day yesterday because those two people mean so much to me. Last night was a really a great night of relief and happiness for them. And of course, for me too. And,
what were you, Joe? What were you thinking at that moment when Rocky first? There was a quick congratulatory hug, and then the crowd surfing. What were you thinking at that moment when he walked away from you and dove into the gallery there? Were you thinking the judge isn't going to like this, or good for him, or what was going through your mind?
The judge loved him, so it wasn't even that. Here's what was going through my mind. When there's a verdict being read, I am laser focused on that clerk because there were 2 counts in this case. And even though I was confident, I came on your show the day before the verdict, right? You said how confident I was, which a lot of people were like, oh my God, how can you be so confident? I was like, because I am. But there were 2 counts, and the jury could do anything. And so I wanted to hear a second not guilty before we started hugging. You don't notice I didn't move. I didn't see Rocky leave. So I'm laser focused. I turned to him and he wasn't there. And I said to my partner, Chad, I go, did he leave? And he's like, I swear to God. I look back and I see him body surfing in the audience. Like, what? I couldn't process this, guys.
All you saw was the bottom of his shoes.
You know the funny part of this is when you look at it again, the bailiff was helping him over the banister. I mean, see the woman, now watch, she takes his feet and she helps him over.
As long as he's going over, let's make sure he gets over all the way.
It was great, that bailiff. But anyway, so I didn't see it. Then I said to my partner, get him back here. We have another count. And then I'm thinking, my God, how embarrassing would this be if they find him guilty on the second count, right?
Oh, right.
I knew that wasn't going to happen. But everything goes through my head when I'm hearing a jury verdict. The tension is insane. Like the anxiety, this is the worst part of my job, for sure. Waiting for that, they say hours of boredom, seconds of terror when you're waiting for a verdict and then you hear there is a verdict. And so listening to that, and then so finally, when both counts of not guilty were read, then it was just pure elation and joy. And then, Rihanna gave me, he obviously see Rocky there, give me a massive hug. I couldn't breathe almost, I think. But right about then, I was like, I can't breathe. So that was
it really did look like family, Joe. And I know we talked about this on Monday where, you say that you think of your clients as family, and they've said the same. But that hug, that's what I was thinking when I saw you guys celebrating that way. I was like, wow, that is a family hug right there.
Yeah.
It is. Those 2 are special to me. We've been very close for 3+ years. I can't tell you how many times I had to convince them and reassure them that it was going to be okay. I mean, Rihanna, I've had a lot of one-offs with her where she's like, Joe, is my family okay? Is my family? I said, yes, you're going to be okay. We're going to be okay here. She gave me one of the strongest hugs I've ever had in my life. And you notice the suit I chose to wear that day was a sort of a light-colored beige suit. She gave me this massive hug. And when she lifted her head off me, I noticed I had the whole Fenty collection on my lapel. So that, I went from a pure elation of a not guilty verdict.
By the way, that suit coat is probably worth a lot of money.
That's right.
You could put
100%. Put it on eBay, dude.
Absolutely distraught. I was like, I just was buying a brand new suit. I was like, so I said last night I couldn't help myself. Rihanna, could I talk to you? So she's like, Joe.
Joe, you're reading it wrong. We're saying it's worth more now that it has Rihanna's makeup on it.
This is worth thousands and thousands of dollars, Joe.
You
need to sell that thing.
Thousands and thousands of
dollars.
Because
you hear that? He's like, what do you think I buy, Harvey?
I thought it was like I thought it was a $300 suit, Joe. The thing that is really stunning about this is turning down that plea deal where he would have gotten 6 months, and you're rolling the dice on 24 years, and you won it. So that's great. Now, the question that everybody has, certainly in our office, is an interview, a post-verdict interview.
One of the jurors
gave. And what this juror said is a little bit confusing to us.
When you heard the idea of the prop gun, just you personally, what'd you think about that?
I didn't really believe it. I didn't think that either, they had really convincing evidence that it was a prop gun. It was kind of a little mysterious the way it was prepared. And they couldn't produce it, as evidence. So some of the testimony did not sound accurate or truthful.
What did you think about the testimony of Relly?
Relly, I believe that he felt his life was in danger. I do. I feel for all of them. All the people involved with this. I feel like this could have been avoided. I hope that in the future, Mr. Mayers really thinks his actions, about his actions before, he is upset with somebody. He does have a lot to lose, and he's lucky at this point that, we didn't have enough evidence to, hand down a conviction.
Joe, she also said that they believed a crime had been committed, and you heard her say they didn't buy that, your theory that it was a prop gun. So we heard all that, and we're like, well, wait a second.
It's a little confusing.
Why didn't they convict him then?
Well, one, that shows me the system works because there's still a reasonable doubt. And I focused heavily in my summation on a reasonable doubt. I said it only takes one. And look, here's what a reasonable doubt is not. It's not he probably committed the crime. It's not I think he committed the crime. It's not he most likely committed the crime. It's not I'm almost certain he committed the crime, guys. It's I have no reason to doubt he committed the crime. That's the highest standard the law permits here. And that's a very high standard. You just heard her. That standard wasn't even close to being met. Now, I will say this. I spoke to 3 other jurors, had completely different opinions than she did, who believed that the evidence was as strong for a prop gun than a real gun. It couldn't have been a real gun if there was no evidence of a shooting, which their lead detective said. There were no shell casings that were recovered by the police. I could go on and on. I don't need to give my summation again. But so 3, here's what she also said in the beginning of that interview, which wasn't played here, was she said they went into the jury room and it was a 10 people wanted to vote not guilty right off the bat.
Yeah, she said that she and like one other person needed
she was always our problematic juror. We knew that going in, just by her faces and everything else. And that's the one that someone chose to interview. That's fine. But look, it only took her 3 hours to be convinced. Come around, right? So when she says we thought a crime, I don't think she speaks for that jury because I spoke to 3 of them. Mm-hmm. And Nancy Dillon from Rolling Stone also spoke to another juror who had a completely different take on this thing, and she published that interview. I spoke to 3 jurors who reached out to me and said, look, we're so happy for him. Please pass on our regards and let him know that we believed him and we believed in him, and we're happy for him. So look, when you have a jury, you don't know exactly what's going on back there, right? And it's just
that kind of brings me to something that I've always wondered about. So you get a call that the jury's reached a verdict, and it was a little less than 4 hours. So
3 hours and 5 minutes.
Yeah, so that. I'm sure Rihanna and ASAP asked you at some point, what does it mean? What do you say to them before the verdict? Do you create a sense of confidence? Are you cautious? What did you say? Did they ask that? Ooh. And what did you say?
They asked it. Of course they asked it. And I said what I felt. Look, I don't ever BS a client, especially when in a moment like this, when it's, just the consequences are so dire. And so I said to them what I felt. And what I said to you guys the day before, I said, look, guys, we had a 4-week trial. we have very smart jurors. We had like a rocket scientist on that jury, a rocket scientist. I'm literally a rocket scientist, like a scientist who builds rocket ships was on that jury. Okay, for real. I never met a rocket scientist before. She was on our jury.
Well, you're not talking to here.
Yeah, or here. We're all that same club. So anyway, I said we have a super smart jury. Reasonable doubt was, I mean, it larged this case. I mean, there's hundreds of reasonable doubts. All they need is one. And so, I said, there's no way 12 jurors came together in 3+ hours and found you guilty. There's no way. We're getting acquitted. This is going to be behind you. Now, that's what I believed. Of course, that being said, you just never know. You just never know. And the judge is something very unique here that almost did give me a heart attack. I think I've lost a couple of years of my life.
When he polled the jury before the verdict?
Harvey. So I've tried 120 jury trials, both as a prosecutor and defense attorney. You never poll a jury.
I know. I felt the same way. I know.
No, it's never happened in my career.
I was shocked. I was shocked.
You don't poll a jury on not guilty. He gets the verdict forms. First of all, you read the verdict first, then you poll the jury on a guilty verdict. He gets the verdict forms. He looked angry. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I know he liked Rocky as a person. And he made it clear he liked Rocky as a person. He looked upset. He turns him down and he says, I want the jurors to be polled. I want them to all acknowledge openly that is their verdict. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, how did I get this wrong? There's no way those 12 jurors convicted. There's no way. It's impossible. I told you guys that the night before. Yeah. And I was just like, I cannot believe this. For the first time, I started feeling lightheaded. So I looked over to our local counsel, Sarah Kaplan, who was there. And I said, Sarah, do they do this in California? And she said, never.
I know.
Oh, my God.
I know.
Must have had,
Rocky, now, Rocky's here listening to all this, and he looks at me.
I told you this.
He goes, he goes, oh, literally, that's what Rocky said to me. I'm like, hang in, let's see. But I really thought we had a problem. I really did. And then afterwards, I went to the judge. I said, hey, Your Honor, on the side, I said, what did you do that? Like, what did you do that? Did I need that?
What did he say? What did he say?
I do that in every case. I go, you poll a jury on a not guilty in every case? You go, why? Because I just want to make sure it's their verdict. I'm like, okay, well, you should have read the not guilty part first. Because you owe me a few years, I said, of my life in the back end. So, but anyway, that was a moment, guys, where I felt ill. I felt really ill.
Right, especially when
it happened. Yeah. But
well, now we know why there was that explosive reaction because
from Rocky, right? Because he had a moment there where he's like,
thinking,
oh,
my
this is
God,
going
I'm
south.
Screwed.
Hey, was there at the after party at this place Gravitas? Was there any more crowd surfing that went on? Maybe you got past.
No. It was it was a private sort of thing in there. Ree was there. Obviously, Rihanna was there. She was so great. They did tell me, and I'm very happy about this because I got this on the record that when they had their third child, it's ASAP Joe. They promised me that, so I'm very.
I love that.
Wow.
Well, listen, hey,
Joe, I got to be honest with you. I heard you drop that one outside court yesterday.
See, that was the first thing she said in the courtroom. My baby's ASAP Joe. I was like, all right, I can deal with that. So.
Oh my God!
All right, well,
listen,
congrats, man.
Huge victory for you. High stakes as it gets. Boy, you played this, man.
The old riverboat gambler.
When you rejected that plea deal, everybody's like, "What is going on here?" You won.
I read some comments after the fact. I don't read anything during the trial, but I did read some people calling me insane, legal errors and crazy and whatever.
Yeah, but, you know what it turns out? You're a legal rocket scientist.
Exactly. I might not build spaceships, but I could do some things in the courtroom. That's maybe so.
Anyway, congrats, Joe. Get some sleep.
I need some. I'm going to. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got to get those Visine drops.
I remember I told you when they were reading.
Yes, you did.
And I said, what's going on here?
Yeah.
It was weird. Okay, we're taking a break.
All right, when we come back, wow, things between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively just went to the next level. Who compared Blake and Ryan Reynolds to Hamas? Yeah, that happened in this case, at least according to Blake. You're going to hear her new amended complaint when we come back. Well, it's not like the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni battle needs any more hyperbole or fuel. But how about a comparison to Hamas, a comparison to the Israel-Hamas war? that was actually spoken by someone in the middle of all this, at least according to Blake Lively. So late last night, she amended her lawsuit that she had filed against Justin. It now also includes Bryan Freedman, Justin's attorney, as a defendant. She's alleging defamation against Bryan Freedman. But in this amended complaint,
God!
Yeah, I mean, there's everybody. It's literally like the old joke, like sue everybody.
Unbelievable.
Sue everybody.
Oh my God.
So
I'm sorry.
The other thing in the amended complaint was what Blake says, a conversation that she heard had taken place with Steve Sarowitz. Steve Sarowitz is the head of Wayfair Studios. He is the co-founder of Wayfair Studios, along with Justin. And she says in this lawsuit that, is it interesting? She says, this is what I heard, he said, but it's presented as a quote in the lawsuit. She says that Steve said, I will protect the studio like Israel protected itself from Hamas. There were 39,000 dead bodies. There will be 2 dead bodies when I'm done, referring to Blake and Ryan Reynolds, because this was allegedly spoken back in August when there was already a lot of talk about the battle between Justin and Blake, and that Ryan had gotten involved.
Go back to that quote. Go back to that quote. I want to show you something.
Right.
So I don't know how this necessarily helps Blake Lively. I will protect the studio like Israel protected itself from Hamas. So he's saying my job is to protect the studio. And I think what he's at least insinuating there is that Blake or Ryan were threatening the studio's existence by what they were doing. So
that's definitely what he is.
But I don't know how that helps Blake, because it sounds like this guy is saying their problems.
It's the over-the-top language of
but
comparing them and saying that you're going to take out. By the way, she does say that he did walk it back later and say, look, I'm not saying I'm actually going to kill them, but my point is...
I mean, obviously he's not going to kill them. But what he's saying is that he's not calling them Hamas. He's saying, I will protect Wayfair as fiercely as Israel protects itself from Hamas. So that doesn't mean he's comparing them to Hamas. He's just saying that's how
it's pretty bombastic language, though.
It's bombastic language,
right?
But I don't know that it helps Blake, because it makes Blake sound like
legally,
a problem.
Maybe it doesn't help her.
Well, here's what helps Blake a little bit, because a lot of this has been positioned as Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are big, important people in Hollywood with deep pockets who are bullying Justin Baldoni. And now this is framing as there's a guy in the background who is a billionaire who said on a different occasion that he would spend up to 9 figures in waging this crusade against Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. So now it looks like more of an even match. They've positioned it as we're the victims here. Even though we're A-list Hollywood people, this guy has a deep war chest that he's using to sink us.
Okay, that's a little more on point. The Hamas thing I don't get. I get what you just said. So Bryan Freedman is obviously, now the new defendant has reacted to this.
Right, the new
defendant.
By the way, the other thing, major thing in the amended complaint was the fact that she said there are 2 other women on the set who felt uncomfortable with Justin's behavior, and that she says they are willing to testify in court against him, although she does not name them in the lawsuit at this point. Obviously, if they were going to testify, their names would come out.
Of course.
So Bryan Freedman's reaction to all of this, Blake's underwhelming amended complaint is filled with unsubstantial hearsay of unnamed persons who are clearly no longer willing to come forward or publicly support her claims. Interestingly, Blake says they are willing to, but she's not naming them yet.
This is never going to trial. I'm just...
The more people they pull in,
it's the less likely it's going to trial. This just feels like on both sides, it's a PR war, not a legal war. I mean...
Which is why they're dragging in more people
everybody.
It's like, you think you can win and to be honest, one of them is winning the PR war. It just changes every week.
It changes well, although it's been pretty stable for a month.
Yeah.
That Justin's winning. But again, it's PR, not legal, I think.
Hey, this is Nadja from New Rochelle. And honestly, I feel like we've all lost. We're all losing here. We are all losing. I'm tired of hearing about these updates every week. I just want it to be over. Go to court and leave us all alone. That's all I ask.
I hear you, but it's good content for us.
I just wish the lawyers would file earlier in the day. They
I
always
know.
file like last night.
They keep us here
last
late.
night, Blake's team, they filed it like a minute before the midnight deadline.
As if ASAP, by the way, we got to show you something later. We got to show you the way our show ended yesterday, because a lot of people didn't see it because we did a feed at the very end with the ASAP Rocky thing. It's pretty hysterical.
Yes.
We're going to show you that later.
Yeah,
we'll
we
show
will.
you that at the end of the show.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
We're going to move on, though.
Yes, to Taylor and Travis. How has Taylor changed Travis, or how has Travis changed Taylor? Have they changed each other? Well, there is a third party who's been standing by closely and seeing all of this unfold. His name is Jason Kelce, and he actually opened up about how his brother has changed.
No fun anymore.
That summarizes it. Is he complaining, though, or is he saying
He's putting
brother's maturing?
He's putting a positive spin on it, but he's essentially saying Travis used to be super fun. He's now mature.
I'm going to ask a little bit about furniture and maybe just how much he's grown up in the last 3 years, because
it's been staggering, honestly.
He legitimately
I just wanna
had
know if he
a
has living room
basketball
furniture.
hoop in his living room.
Dude, Travis
pool
has
table.
been
And a
Give
pool
him
table.
credit.
I don't think he had any couches.
one
was
of the
nothing.
things I love so much about Travis is that he never grew up. Like he was like Peter Pan, like the
Okay,
Lost
but
Boys.
is he growing up now, though?
For sure. It's changing. And I think that sometimes, you get people in your life that maybe get that out of you, and that's a good thing.
That are worth
like that.
changing for.
They incentivize you to get change.
There's no
That's right.
question.
Okay, so he's growing up.
He is growing up. He's still, though, got that youthful enthusiasm. I think he'll kind of always have that. It's just part of his personality. And I think it's one of the reasons, like, every teammate has ever loved playing with him. Anybody that's ever met Trav, you can't help but just love the guy.
That's on the Fitz and Wit podcast, but yes, Code. I think he realized halfway through, he's like, ooh, this sounds like I'm
doesn't
complaining.
sound great,
Let me
right?
spin this around.
Of course, guys would make this seem like a bad thing, but like this is the age-old tale when a guy doesn't have his stuff together and an amazing woman enters his life and changes him
kills
for
all the
better.
fun.
And kills all the fun.
No, helps you figure
Tale
out
as old
like
as
your
time.
finances, comes in and says, okay, we need to actually get you a headboard for this bed. It can't be a mattress on the floor. Like comes in and like makes you like a man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it starts with a headboard, and then it ends with crap all over the bathroom,
By the way, I find it interesting that on the podcast, the three of them are sitting there in leather armchairs that their significant others probably would say,
you can't have this in the house.
Get that out of the house.
Absolutely. Oh my God, that is dead on.
Hi, this is Gabby from Boston. As far as Jason and his brother Travis, I do think at a point you have to grow up and maybe have like a man cave for your boy stuff, but he's at the age where hopefully maybe he's starting to think about a family, maybe with Taylor, and I think girls eventually want to settle down and not just have a pool table and maybe have a couch. So I wish them all the best, and they seem happy, and hopefully, things continue to go good for them.
Bye-bye fun. Bye-bye happiness.
This is undeniably the code we're talking about. But we are going to take a break.
All right, when we come back, Zach Bryan, speaking of playing pool and having fun, he was out in the West Village doing just that until he started losing and ended up in a very heated conversation and arguably made a homophobic comment. We're going to get into it. You will see it all play out when we come back.
TMZ's got every freaking thing. Big celebs, big stories, big events.
Justin Timberlake made Portland kids' dream come true by joining a bike bus ride. And they always listen to Justin Timberlake.
Cry me a river when they fall. Yeah, right.
It's TMZ.
It's all fun and games until someone loses at pool and loses several times. In the case of Zach Bryan, that's what went down earlier this week at a West Village bar in New York City. In New York's West Village, Zach was hanging out with some friends. There was another group there, and they decided, let's do a little billiards, if you will, a little snooker. And
somebody got snookered.
Yes. What we're told by people in the bar is that Zach lost 3 games straight. Then things got a little testy. So one of the other group of friends who were there had one person in that group had the Meta Ray-Ban Meta glasses and started talking to Zach about it. So you're going to hear Zach asking about the glasses, and then things get a little more testy because Zach is upset that they're
He's filming
recording.
it. Yeah.
Right.
Do you work for Ray-Ban? Meta Ray-Ban. No, they're not even mine. They're my friends. I'm with them.
I want to rip my face so bad because we're at a bar.
I'm taking videos of my friends. I don't care about you. I don't care about you and friends, okay? I'm taking videos of me and my friends so that we can cherish them as fun memories, okay? I'm not trying to record your ass, dude. I'm trying to record my friends for memories that I want to have fun, okay? It has nothing to do. And you're just like, you're seriously. That was the gayest thing I've ever heard. That was so sick. The gayest thing I've ever heard, bro. That was gay? Yeah, that's cool. Why is that gay?
That's why I mentioned at the beginning that this was in the West Village. And I don't know if anyone there actually was gay. But Zach, I don't know that he...
Something happened before this because they're already hot when we started watching them.
Yes, and what we were told by people is that, look, the losses had piled up, and they, in their eyes, they thought that Zach had been drinking a lot and that he might have been drunk. We don't know if he was drunk, but the response, right, just to say that that's gay.
The gayest thing you ever heard or something like that.
That's the gayest thing I ever heard.
Well, definitely, I mean, homophobic comments from Zach are not okay, but why didn't he just walk away from the situation? I mean, think about who has more to lose in that beef. I mean, and also, how many bars are there in the West Village? Just go somewhere else.
What I think is going on here is he didn't want to be recorded losing game after game after game.
Right.
It's a macho thing. Goes up to this guy, and I'm assuming asked him not to do it.
Yes, because, and then the guy's explaining why he's not going to stop.
He said, I'm not doing it because of you, man. I'm doing it because my friends are here, and I want to shoot this, and I want to keep memories. And that seemed to trigger him and say, memories? That's the gayest thing I ever heard.
Do you think he was thinking Streisand? Memories.
You know, it's just interesting. That was in his holster. It's just interesting.
My name's Melissa Gorecki. I'm from Long Island, New York. And I have to say, this is like the biggest case of hateration I've ever seen. If upset that he was losing, I get you don't want to be recorded. But if that was me and I was wearing the glasses, I would say, if you don't want to be in this, please remove yourself. Just for Zach to say that it's like the gayest thing he's ever heard, that just goes to show me you don't have any friends to record you, sir. And not only that, you're a big hater. That's just what I got from it.
All right.
And it's definitely not the gayest thing. Kidding.
Certainly not in the West Village.
Kidding. Okay, we're going to move on.
All right, we're going to take a break, actually. When we come back, big news in the Diddy case. A couple of big things. One from Diddy and something he wants, one of the counts he wants dropped from the federal indictment. And then Cassie, his ex-girlfriend, has a big bombshell of her own. Well, a very interestingly timed announcement from Cassie. Now, I'm not accusing Cassie of timing it for this particular purpose, but she announced she is pregnant, having her third child with her husband, Alex Fine, and it comes amid some new attempts on Diddy's team to drop some of these charges. And what you got to think about, we're going to get to what he wants to change in just a moment. But Cassie being pregnant now, and she didn't say how far along she is, but remember, the trial starts first week in May? I believe May 5th?
If it starts then.
If it starts then. And if she is on the stand, as we expect her to be, she is victim number one in the indictment.
She's going to be the star witness.
That she's the star witness. Now you have the star witness pregnant on the stand. That is a...
Well, you know what it is.
I mean, the sympathy...
You know what it is. We can go back a few segments here, and it's kind of the Rihanna effect in the courtroom. And they're going to look at this woman who is pregnant, engaged, and it's kind of, trying to juxtapose these two images. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, that's the subliminal difficulty that Diddy's going to have.
The part they're not going to be able to escape is when they play the
video of her
hotel
being dragged
beating video.
That's right. No, you're absolutely right. But that's what they're going to argue.
But that's going to be the game going back and forth. Speaking of the freak-offs, Diddy has a defense for that. And it's basically that the government is trying to ring him up on a very old, antiquated, racist statute. It's called the Mann Act. And he actually filed documents yesterday asking the judge to dismiss count number 3 of the indictment because he believes that he is being selectively prosecuted because he is a black man and they're trying to take him down using the Mann Act. In fact, in the documents, he says, we've seen it play out this way for decades. He says they did it to Chuck Berry, they did it to the boxer Jack Johnson using this Mann Act, and now they're trying to do it to me when all I'm doing is leading my life the way lots of people do, and they're never prosecuted for it, particularly when they're white.
And in our documentary, The Downfall of Diddy, which is on Tubi, we talked to Mark Agnifilo, Diddy's lawyer, who said racism was a core part of the defense.
Right. Well, will this be successful? I mean, essentially, Diddy's team is saying they're kind of admitting that he committed that he did have sex workers.
Yeah, not necessarily. It's
that he did hire sex workers who came to his parties, and that's just how he gets down. And why should he be prosecuted for that? Can it be successful to put basically the government on trial for using this law and for this law even existing? Joining us right now to discuss that, Anthony Capozzolo is a former federal prosecutor himself. Still is now a defense attorney, and he is joining us now. Anthony, welcome to TMZ Live.
Great. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be on.
We appreciate it. So selective prosecution is a thing in the law, and it has been used occasionally with success where prosecutors may have targeted somebody for something that they never would otherwise prosecute other people for. Is it possible that could fly here?
In this particular case, I don't think so. If you read the defendant's motion papers, it presents a very narrow view of the evidence that's alleged in the indictment. In fact, it talks mostly about male escorts and inviting them into the very intimacies of his own marriage. Count 3 actually alleges sex trafficking involving 3 female victims in addition to the male escorts. So I believe there's a great disparity in the characterization of the case just within the motion they're filing and the indictment as it's filed. Now, it is true that the Mann Act does have a racial history. It was used many years ago to target African Americans who were engaging in what might be called immoral conduct, according to the Times. But that statute was amended several times. It removed the immoral purposes and it removed some other language and now restricts application of the statute to conduct involving sex trafficking and transportation related to criminal conduct. So the only way the statute can be charged now is if it's alleged that somebody committed a crime. And again, I think the indictment alleges more conduct than what is addressed in the defense motion. And so this motion...
Can I stop you? That's really interesting, because if the crime is not just taking somebody from one state to another and paying them, if they can prove it's consensual, what's the crime?
Prostitution is still a crime. So transporting someone across lines for prostitution solely could still be considered a crime. However, it's important to note that the conduct that they described in the defense motion seems to be a bit more narrow than what that count 3 in the indictment actually alleges, which also talks about the 3 female victims. And there are other allegations in the indictment that relate to that as well.
I spoke to Mark Agnifilo on the documentary we did. And this kind of reminds me of Johnny Cochran and O.J. Simpson, that Johnny changed the defendant to the state, to the police. What Agnifilo said to me, and I could hear him talking to the jury in closing, he says, this is an attempt to take down a successful black man. And there is a long, rich history of that among prosecutors. That worked with O.J. Simpson, that kind of defense where you don't look at what happened to Nicole, you look at something bigger. Could that happen here?
It really will come down to the evidence at trial. It's definitely a theme. Mark Agnifilo is a great lawyer. I know him for many years. He is a formidable force in the courtroom. It really will depend on what the evidence is, much of which we don't have access to. There are references to videotapes. There may be witnesses that have either are known to the prosecution or have become known to the prosecution that we're unaware of. A lot of the materials are covered by a protective order. But I agree with you. That is exactly the argument that the defense will be making, along with many others, to the jury, that this case is being treated in some way more special because of who he is. And that runs into that theme that there's a long history of targeting prominent African Americans in the past, like the cases you mentioned, Chuck Berry and the boxer who was actually pardoned by, I believe, Obama many years ago.
All right. It is going to be interesting, just a couple months away. But you're right. It does sound like they're setting it up that is going to be the tack they take. Anthony, thank you so much.
Thank you, Anthony.
For joining us.
Thanks
we'll talk to you soon.
me.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Yeah. Very interesting.
It's going to be
By the way, as far as being a crime, the prostitution, they also say in the document, they go, escorts are just a commonly accepted part of American culture now. And they point to their TV shows about it and that they operate in the open. So why is he being
tough
tried on this?
It's sort of like saying to the federal government, hey, marijuana is legal in a lot of other states. No, marijuana. And it's still illegal federally. And you can't, that argument's never fly. Well, it's in California, you can use it. It doesn't fly. Yeah. Okay, we're taking a break.
All right, when we come back, Kevin Spacey has an explosive response to allegations from his former co-star Guy Pearce, who says that Kevin made him uncomfortable on set. Well, wait until you hear what Kevin has to say about what their relationship really was when we come back. What to make of a new battle that has erupted between two former co-stars, Kevin Spacey and Guy Pearce. This all started because Guy Pearce did an interview recently where he was asked about their time together. They made LA Confidential together. And the interviewer basically was asking him, what was your experience with Kevin Spacey? Because of, of course, all the allegations against Kevin Spacey, who was not convicted in this country of any of those allegations. Nothing even went to trial. But this is what Guy Pearce said.
And hold on, and we're about to show you Kevin Spacey's response, which is scorching.
Yes. So Guy said, I was sort of scared of Kevin because he's quite an aggressive man. He's extremely charming and brilliant at what he does, really impressive, etc. He holds a room remarkably, but I was young and susceptible, and he targeted me, no question.
So, Kevin Spacey decided that this was a bridge too far, and he responded
on camera.
On camera.
A year after we shot LA Confidential, you flew to Savannah, Georgia, while I was shooting Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil just to spend time with me. I apologize that I didn't get the message that you don't like spending time with me. I mean, maybe there was another reason, I don't know. But that doesn't make any sense that you would have just been leading me on, right? But here you are now on a mission some 28 years later after I've been through hell and back to do what? Just in time to stop the bad guy? Huh? Is that what's going on here? What took you so long? Did your horse run out of gas? I mean, you want to have a conversation? I'm happy to do so anytime, any place. We can even do it here, live on X if you like. I've got nothing to hide. But Guy, you need to grow up. You are not a victim.
Wow. Didn't expect that.
To be clear, Guy Pearce did not say that he was molested. He didn't make any allegation like that, but he made it clear that Kevin had hit on him, had made a pass at him or of some sort, but nothing happened. And Guy said, I'm not saying that I'm like the other people who came forward with allegations, but I wanted to be open about what my experience was. Kevin sees it much differently.
Fundamentally different.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? DJ Change, St. Pete, Florida. And I understand what Kevin Spacey is talking about, because what he's saying is if there was a problem or if there was a situation that you felt like you had at the beginning, you should have addressed it then, not wait 28 years later, then try to bring it up and try to build this whole perception of Kevin being the bad guy.
Right. Does seem odd.
Right. Okay, we are going to take a break.
All right. When we come back, baseball's $700 million man, Shohei Ohtani, in Arizona for spring training in his fancy sports car. So, can he park a Porsche? You are going to see.
When you got a whole block to do it.
We'll show you how this ended. Very fun. Well, the sight of Shohei Ohtani in a very fancy and expensive sports car is not shocking. I mean, the Dodgers are paying him $700 million.
Although it's deferred, so I was expecting a Toyota, but
exactly. He's only making like $2 million now. But he's got enough for this Porsche and showed up in Scottsdale. The Dodgers are there for spring training.
Now watch this. Look how much room he has to park this thing.
Parallel parking is always something that people have trouble with.
He should be able to do that.
I don't know how long he's had his driver's license in this country, but he's been here for quite some time. Maybe parallel parking. See, here's the problem. He was afraid to go deep. And as a guy who hits home runs, I would think going deep would not be a problem.
Right.
When you parallel park, you got to stick your butt in there and go deep.
Now, what he's afraid of is getting the rims messed up. I think.
Now he's just avoiding that. He's just dancing around the curb.
Well, also, I think you might have a point, Harvey, because this is in Arizona, and granted, he has enough money if he wants to ship a car there, but he doesn't live in Arizona, so maybe this is a loaner or this is somebody else's car, and I think you would then be extra careful to not pick up the
get out of here. Wow, you are bending over backward.
Why are you saying that?
Hey, I've got no love for Ohtani as a Yankees fan. I don't know. I'm trying to make an excuse for the guy. He's so good at everything he does.
Do you remember your parents teaching you how to parallel park? Who taught you how to parallel park?
You know, I think I learned it in driver's ed, actually.
Oh, really?
In high school.
You were parallel parking a horse and buggy?
Oh, would you stop it? That joke is old.
Come on.
Hi, my name is Rihanna Ulmer. I'm from Winchester, Virginia. And honestly, I have no room to judge. I do not know how to parallel park to save my life. But what I did notice from the video was that he was parked in a different direction. Now, granted, the other car might have been parked in the opposite direction, but again, I have no room to judge him because I'm not the best at parking.
Had the wheel cut the wrong way altogether. It's all bad.
Finally, he's bad at something.
Something he can't do.
Okay, we're taking a break.
When we come back, we are going to show you a different view of the explosive ending to A$AP Rocky's trial. How it all played out live on TMZ Live. Although, if nobody sees it,
that's the thing.
Still
Did
live?
It really happen?
Well, A$AP Rocky's verdict, when it came in, it was late yesterday.
So, look, we jumped on mostly because Los Angeles was going to run it, and we wanted our hometown to be able to see what we're doing here.
Exactly.
So we weren't sure if the verdict was going to come in. We only had a minute. So here's what happened. They are in the courtroom. A$AP's in the courtroom. Everybody's there. Connor, have they reached the verdict yet? Okay, not yet, but they're actually polling each of the jurors. So we have 33 seconds.
Wait, there it is. Not guilty.
Not guilty. So our timing was so good.
We
nailed it. And then we find out after we get off the air that the Los Angeles station preempted us so that they could run it, which I get. But we had a moment, guys.
We did. Hey, good drill. Good drill. It all worked out, especially for A$AP. And that's it.
We will see you tomorrow.